Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's edition of the Berkeley Forum. Tonight we have speaker Aileen Xu speaking with us, and we'll get into an introduction a little bit later. But just to kick off our event for tonight, we have two forms that we'd like to invite everyone to fill out. So if you're attending our event live today, if you could please fill out our attendance form at tinyurl.com/AileenXu, that would be incredible. And if you have any questions for the speaker, please submit them at the form there as well. And these forms will also be linked in the live stream below, and they'll be open during the entirety of the event. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to our event manager for the evening, Bianca, to introduce our speaker.
Thank you so much, Cindy. So Aileen Xu is an inspirational content creator whose mission is to share her knowledge about personal growth and mental health while inspiring her audience to cultivate their dream life. She comes from the world of music and traditional media, but is now an entrepreneur. Aileen's online platform, Lavendaire, is a resource for personal growth and lifestyle design as developed on her YouTube channel and podcast. Now, before I pass it over to Aileen, I'll end it with the Lavendaire motto: life is an art, make it your masterpiece. Aileen, the stage is yours.
All right. Hello, everyone. Do you see me? Thank you so much, Bianca. So I'm kind of nervous for today because I haven't done like a Zoom live thing in a while. So please bear with me, but I will talk about my story first, and then later we're going to move into a Q&A. So I would say that, I felt like today was a full circle moment because I was super lost in college. And it's fun whenever I get to talk to college students because it's the most exciting time. And it's also it's a very scary time because you're getting ready for the real world and you might feel like comparing yourself to your peers. You might feel a little just worrisome, anxious, unsure of what you're going to do, what's going to happen. And I find that during those years, you are very hard on yourself, and it's a struggle. At least for me, when I was in college, it was a struggle. So let me go back to my story. I want to say that when I think back on my life growing up, I was living on autopilot up until maybe junior year in college. And what I mean by autopilot is I did what other people told me to do. I was a good Asian kid. My parents told me to do good in school, take piano lessons, this, and this. And I never really questioned the direction from other people. I never questioned what teachers told me or parents told me and what my aunts and uncles would say. And I felt like I did a lot just following the rules. And then in high school, I was a pretty good student. I think just naturally I followed the rules. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do all my homework. I was in honors, IB, AP, whatever. And I basically, I had like a turning point when I was in college, because in high school, I did everything just to get into a good college. I joined ASB just to put it on my, what's it called, college application. I did everything for the purpose of the goal, meaning, your parents tell you to do good in school so you can go to a good college, get good grades, and then get a good job so you can make a lot of money and get married, buy a house, have kids, just that path, right? That's not uncommon to a lot of us. And I did all that and things went pretty well up until college. And the reason why I had this wake up moment junior year in college was because in college, that's the time where you're supposed to pick a major, intern, figure out what you want to do in your career. And me, someone who did everything by the book, it was easy when a syllabus was given to me for class. I could just okay, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I got it, read this, got it. But what paralyzed me and scared me the most was life, because there was no syllabus to life. There were no step-by-step. There was no handbook on how to be successful in life. And that, I don't know, it just puzzled me. And I majored in business. I decided I wanted to emphasize in marketing-ish. And I did a bunch of internships in college. And I want to say I did and they were considered fun internships in the business world. There was a point where I was considering going into finance. That didn't last long. But my internships were like at E! News, which is like a TV station, wardrobe stylist, a lot of like marketing, advertising, social media type of internships. And at every single internship, I realized that I did not like that environment. I hate the 9 to 5 life. Just me personally, I couldn't, I didn't want to wake up every day and do the same thing every day. And it was even hard for me to wake up to go to class. You know, I'm a night owl. I like to wake up late. So anyway, I struggled a lot in internships, and I basically got fired from like my first internship. I got fired from 2 internships actually in my career because I would start out great and then I would get so unmotivated because I didn't like the environment. I just didn't like what I was doing, and I got so unmotivated that I just like didn't want to wake up to go to work. I stopped going, and then I don't know, I was irresponsible and I got in a lot of trouble for that. Thus, I was lost because I was like, okay, oh my God, I tried all these jobs, all of these careers, I don't like them. And number two, I looked at like my manager and the boss's boss and the boss's boss in that corporation, and I didn't want those people's jobs. It just didn't appeal to me. I didn't want that lifestyle. I wanted something else. And deep down, I knew eventually I wanted to maybe have my own business, maybe have freedom. I wanted to be able to travel, have flexibility to work whenever I want, travel wherever I want, all of those things. And what was so difficult for me was bridging that gap from like, okay, I know this is the lifestyle I truly want deep down. You know, I don't want to continue down this corporate path, but how do I get there? What is it that I even want to do? So this is like junior year where all of this like questioning started happening. Around this time, I also started questioning just the meaning of life. I got very existential, like, why am I alive? What is the purpose of life? All of these big questions that I never really took time to ask myself. I never really thought about it. You know, I was just following the rules, doing what I thought was what I should do to succeed. And so fast forward to when I graduated college, I ended up deciding not to take a normal corporate path because I had so many signs telling me it wasn't right. But on the other hand, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know, like, it was just so open and I had no idea. And the hardest part was me being like an achiever in school. Like all my friends who were also business majors, they were getting all these like you know, jobs out of college, getting paid a lot of money, working downtown, and people seemed like they knew what they were doing. Everyone seemed like they had it figured out but me. And that was the hard part. It just feeling judged by my peers. When people asked me, this is like the question I dreaded all of like junior, senior year was, what are you going to do when you graduate? That just gave me so much anxiety and so much frustration. Sometimes I would even like start crying because like I didn't know how to answer that question. So I did a lot of self-reflection senior year. Junior, like I think the beginning of the year, I like studied abroad in Italy. So that gave me a chance to leave the academic space and the world that I lived in. It gave me like just breather, just a chance to like think about myself and what I want. I'm a huge proponent of reading self-help books and journaling. Those are two things that I did early on in my life that really helped me find the right answers for myself. So through my self-reflection and insight, I decided that I needed to start following my heart. I needed to, even though I didn't know what it was that I wanted to do, what it was that would give me this life that I want, I had to at least try, right? Because there was one route that was the safe route. Like I know if I take this job, the next step is a similar job and maybe I'll move up a little. And there's not much, like, you know where you're gonna go in that route. But then this other, it was kind of like a field of openness where I couldn't see further than 5 feet. That was the route that I chose to take because it felt more aligned to my heart. And I would say it's probably one of the first times that I ever listened to myself rather than other people. Because you can imagine during that time when I decided to not take a job, I'm like, I'm just gonna go find myself. I'm gonna go figure out what I want, something creative, but I don't know. You can imagine what my parents were saying to me at the time. You know, we did not get along, we butt heads. There was a lot of fighting, a lot of just guilt tripping, and I don't know. It was a tough time because I couldn't see eye to eye with my parents, who I understand they just wanted the best for me. Your parents just want you to be safe. They just want you to be secure and not have to struggle. But you know deep down what is meant for you. So even though you know, you have to go on that quest on your own. So I went on that quest, and the first thing that I thought of was, well, let me just explore everything that interests me. Like, I thought at that time that I wanted to go into music because all my life, I sang, I played piano, I loved performing, and I loved it so much. It gave me so much energy that I'm like, okay, maybe entertainment is what I'm going to go into. So I started playing shows, local shows, House of Blues, things like that. I self-taught myself how to produce music just by watching online courses. And then I produced and recorded my first album, which is still on Spotify. If you look up my name, it's still on. I just leave it on for like memory's sake, like, oh, this is where I came from. But obviously my music never took off. I mean, it's a hard industry. And number two, I wasn't super consistent with like that path, because while I was doing music, I was also exploring other things. I was like, well, let me try acting, let me try TV hosting. And then I got a side job because I wanted to feel like, I don't know, I just had the opportunity to do marketing and PR for a local food festival. If you're in LA area, it's called 626 Night Market. And it turned out to be like a very big festival. It's the largest Asian food festival in the US. But I joined the team when it began. So that was a unique opportunity where, fresh out of college, I was doing something that was kind of related to my major, but was also really fun, exciting, and startup-y. And through that experience, I produced like a short film. I just created a lot of video content for them. And this entire time, I'm just doing a little bit of everything, right? And I look very scattered to my peers. People probably didn't understand what was going on for me. And I was also reading a lot of self-help books, still journaling, self-reflection, finding myself. And I want to say I had a lot of fun during those years, but I was also still lost. You know, I don't know, I was like, okay, it's been like a year or two. I'm doing all these random creative things, but like, what am I really doing? Like, where is this leading? So like I mentioned, I did music for a while. I forgot to say this, but in high school, I started a music YouTube channel where I sang and played piano. And YouTube was actually an amazing platform for me because it built my confidence. I was super shy when I was young. And because I started posting singing videos online because other people were doing it at the time. If you can imagine what TikTok is now, that's what YouTube was then. It was just exciting. Like, oh my God, like all these amateurs are posting singing videos. Let me do it too. So I started doing that and I kept it a secret. So it was a secret until someone at my high school found my videos through YouTube. And then the secret kind of like, you know, broke. And through that, I finally admitted to my friends, like, yeah, I like to sing. So anyway, that was high school through college. And even after college, when I was pursuing music, it was YouTube based. And basically the music thing wasn't taking off. And there was a couple years where I was kind of trying, but kind of doing the PR marketing thing too. And then I got frustrated at myself again. And I had a big like breakdown moment, mental breakdown, another long journaling sessions where I asked myself, like, do I still want to do YouTube? Is this my thing? And a part of me like put that dream away because the music YouTube wasn't working out. A part of me told myself, okay, like you tried YouTube and it didn't work out for you, so let's put that dream away and let's try something else. But as I was reading all these like personal growth, finding your purpose type books and blogs, I realized that there was no one my age talking about these topics online: spirituality, finding your purpose, self-care, self-love. All of these things were weird niche concepts at the time. This is like 2014 was the year I started Lavendaire. So I just had a hunch that there's a gap in the market because all the content that I'm consuming is written by middle-aged white men. All those like classic books, you know, I don't know, Napoleon Hill, Jack Canfield, people like Tim Ferriss, Seth Godin. I was reading like these types of books, and I was like, there's no like young early 20s female, minority female talking about these topics. Like there must be people in their 20s who care or who are also lost in life as much as I am, right? So let me just start a new channel. Let's try this out. Let me find a place or create a space where I can share all the lessons that I'm learning about my life along the way. Even though I might not have everything figured out, I've learned a few things during all this, creative dabbling. And one of the biggest things I learned doing all the creative dabbling was that I survived. Like for some reason in my mind, I thought that if I were to take a risk and to take a path that didn't promise like a secure job or anything, like for some reason, like it was just not possible in my head. And the fact that I ended up like finding these opportunities, like acting in short films, performing at all these cool venues, and doing like PR, like through the food festival job, I was able to like be on TV on Fox News. Like I was interviewed for LA Times for the festival. And these were opportunities that I never imagined I would get. It was just, I took a chance and life led me somewhere really interesting. And even though I wasn't where I wanted to be in life, even though I wasn't making that much money at all, I was so proud of myself for taking a risk, and also so proud at the life, like the enriching experiences I had in life. Like the experiences themselves were so fun and so interesting. And I knew that if I took like a normal path, like all my other friends, like my life, like exciting things like that wouldn't happen to me. So this, plus a lot of other things, led to this idea that, life really is what you make it. And I know it sounds cliche, but I think it was like a moment of like, it just clicked in my head that I can really design my life, like every single detail of my life. I can choose to do these things. I don't have to do things because it's what you're supposed to do. Like I don't have to follow this path because someone else told me, or that's what other people deem as success. So I started redefining what success meant to me. I started just picturing what I wanted in my life and finding out a way to bridge the gap. And when I started Lavendaire in 2014, it really was the early stages of like, I wasn't sure where it was going. I didn't even know that that would become my career. It was like, here's my blog, here's a space where I can just talk about everything that I think about. And when I started Lavendaire, eventually, like I made it a point to be consistent, post a video every week, because I learned from my past experience with music. I was very inconsistent. So like I learned a lot of lessons doing YouTube since high school that I could then put into this new channel that I started in 2014. And might I add that in 2014, I was in such a dilemma to start a new channel because at 23 years old, I thought I was too old. I thought I was too old for YouTube. I thought, all these YouTubers are like 18, 19, they're like famous already, they're successful. Like I'm 23, am I really gonna, like I just had so much self-doubt and I really thought that I was too old. But now looking back, I'm 29 now. I'm like, I was so young. Like you have so much time in your 20s to do so many interesting things. Like don't waste those years. So anyway, Lavendaire slowly took off. It wasn't something that immediately took off. And you guys can ask me any questions you have about that whole journey of building it. But once I started Lavendaire, like something in my heart just clicked and it felt so right, because all this time I was doing all these random creative things, but nothing really fully clicked with, one, how much fun I had, and two, how fulfilling it felt, and also three, whether it aligned to the dream life that I wanted. For example, with music, I loved music, I loved performing, but I realized after just trying that path that I hated like traveling here and there and performing at different venues. I hate driving. I hate just getting out of my house. I hate lugging. I had to lug all my like equipment back then, and I just didn't like that experience. And I realized like, okay, music is fun, but do I really want to, like, if I become successful, I would have to tour. I don't want to tour. Like that's not what I want in my life. I want to be at home. I want to travel on my own time, like go where I want, and not like have to be, on a bus or whatever musicians do. So that was one aspect of my dream life that didn't align with that path. And so Lavendaire was something that was so creatively open. I was like, okay. After a couple years, it started to like take off more, and I started to see the reality, like, okay, this can be a brand, this can be a business. No one else is really talking about these topics online, on YouTube at least yet. And I'm passionate about talking about figuring out what to do with your life and just the process of improving yourself and creating your dream life. Like, I genuinely love that. And so it was just the perfect mesh of like what I love, what I'm good at, what the world needs, and also like what aligned to the life I wanted. So now fast forward, it's been, I don't know, 6 years, almost, yeah, I think 6 years since I started. I'm at a place where Lavendaire is more than just a YouTube channel. We have a podcast, I have stationery. I positioned these things in the back. I have like a workbook, I have journals, I have a planner that I designed. And it's just, I think with the brand, it just grew a little bit every year. You know, I add one person to the team, add another person. And now I mean, I've been living my dream life, guys. If I can be honest with you, even before, well, I would say for the past around 2 years, 2 to 3 years after I started Lavendaire, I already felt like I was living my dream life. And for the past 2-ish years, it's just been like everything getting better on top of it, just like adding on top of it. But it's, I don't know, it's just an amazing feeling to find, like, just to be on a search and to finally land on that thing that really feels aligned to your inner self and what you want out of life. You know, I think too often people settle. People kind of like in relationships, right? Like you find a career path or a significant other that you're like, okay, this is good, this is safe. Like, I know that if I take this job, I'll make this amount of money, and then I could budget this amount for this and save up to buy a house and blah blah blah. But and it might be like 70% there, like you might 70% like it, but you might be too scared to, like, you know, not take that and find something else, because everything else, you know, the other option is the unknown. And like I said, in relationships, people do that too. You know, they stay with someone that's like they 70% feel like is there, but then they're too scared to like go out into the unknown and find what's genuinely aligned and the right path, the right person. So I think my main point to you guys today is to know that you have an inner compass within that knows what's right for you. And I know how frustrating it feels when you don't know what the next step is, when you don't have steps 1 through 10 figured out, when you don't have a plan. Especially me, like, I love to plan, and I hate it when I can't plan, when I don't have a plan. But life is not predictable. You know, life is a dance between, like, there's a quote that I have to look, I forgot it. It slipped my mind right now, but there's a quote by Ariana Huffington that's like, life is a dance between, I think, making it happen and letting it happen. I think that's what it is. So life is half you visualizing what you want, setting your goals, taking steps as far as you can, as far as you know. And then obviously life's like opportunities are going to come your way, things that you can never predict, things that you can never expect. And you kind of dance with it. You're like, oh, this is something new. Okay, let me work with this. Oh, I never expected this. And those unexpected things could be positive or negative. And what I think is, even the negative things, like the failures or the things that throw you off your balance, those are also blessings in disguise, because they lead you to somewhere better that you never have planned or predicted for yourself. And a big one is probably like this pandemic. You know, this whole year we're all thrown off. Everything is different. Like, I empathize with you students who have to like do online course and all of this, but just know that maybe like 5 years down the line, you'd be like, you would have experienced something like a blessing, something good that came out of this time. So yeah, just know that life is unpredictable. No, you have an inner compass within. Listen to it, follow it, because everything else is just noise. Everything else, society, parents, peers, everything else is just, I don't know, it is just noise. So don't take it too seriously. Don't take anything personally, especially when people judge you, because when you are taking a risk and doing something different, people are going to judge you. They're going to project, because people project their own fears. And when somebody like say your parents or your friends, like this happened to me where people are like, are you sure you want to do that? Like that's dumb. What, like you graduated from USC, like you graduate from a good school, you're supposed to like get a job, get a paying job. Like how are you going to start YouTube? Like that's so dumb, you know? So that's, I don't know, that like people are going to judge you because they are scared to take the risk. They wouldn't want to do what you're doing because you're being courageous. And I don't know, just understand that it's not you that's doing anything wrong. People are just projecting their fears and insecurities on you. And ultimately, you get to decide what you want to do with your life. You are the captain, like you're in control, okay? You obviously you can take advice and listen to what people say, especially your trusted loved ones. But at the end of the day, you have to rely on you. You got to be your best friend in this journey. And self-love, that's the topic. Like I talk about self-love so much. Learning to cultivate your self-worth, learning to, I don't know, just be confident in yourself, because this path takes confidence. It takes you believing in yourself. You have to believe in your vision and in your goals before anyone else can believe it. Like back then, if I explained what I envisioned for Lavendaire, even now I have a bigger vision for Lavendaire, but back then, if I were to explain like what I wanted to do with YouTube and everything, like people told me like, you're a dreamer. That's like, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but like, that's not likely. And I've been told that. I've been told by friends who cared, like, Aileen, I know you think YouTube is gonna be a good, like you think YouTube's gonna work out, but I don't want you to get hurt. I don't want you to waste your time. So I don't think it's the right thing to do. Like people have, even whether they say it in a nice way or a judgmental way, like ultimately that's their opinion, and you have your own opinion about yourself. And at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is what you think of yourself. If you approve of yourself, if you have this vision and you know you want to do it, just do it. Okay, I think I went on for a while. How's the time? We can move on to the Q&A. Okay, great.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aileen, for your address.
you.
Definitely super inspirational. So now we're going to move into our moderated and audience Q&A portion. So at this time, I'd like to invite our moderator for the evening, Christy, to the stage.
Hi, Cindy. Thanks for the introduction. And first of all, thank you so much, Aileen, for being here today. We are so excited to have you at the Berkeley Forum. And before I start, I would like to invite the audience to fill out the question form if they haven't done so already. We'll be asking the audience questions at the end of the moderated portion. But now, Aileen, we're going to be starting with the moderated portion. So my first question for you revolves around Lavendaire. The self-described mission of Lavendaire is to be a resource for personal growth and lifestyle design. How, if at all, do you think that mission has evolved as people deal with the abrupt changes from the COVID-19 pandemic?
It has definitely grown this year in the sense that when I started Lavendaire, I thought that this was such a niche topic that not that many people were worried about becoming their best selves and designing their dream life. I felt like it was a minority, a very small group of people who cared about that topic. And even before this year, I think I saw trends from the past like 5 years where more and more people started to care and become more aware of things like mental health, self-love, self-care. When I was in high school, self-love wasn't even in our vocabulary. That phrase wasn't, like, I just didn't know it existed until much later, until I was in my 20s. So I think just the gradual growth of just awareness of these topics is one thing. And then with the pandemic, mental health is such a crisis right now because a lot of people like lost their jobs. A lot of people are struggling right now, whether they're staying at home and they're not used to staying at home. And so many things are, it truly is a crisis right now, which is why I see more people coming to my channel for tips on like self-care, tips on managing your mind, which is so important. And I think it's a good thing because people who were too busy to think about these things or too unaware to think about these things before are now recognizing, oh, I have to take care of myself. Oh, I can change my thoughts. I can change how I feel about myself, or my emotions are just emotions. I don't have to attach myself to them. These ideas that are, I don't know, so helpful to people to protect their mental health and wellness. I think more and more people are learning it this year, whether people have like, I think a lot of people are being exposed to these ideas more and more, and that's really exciting, because then that means after we like overcome this whole thing together, everyone will be more mentally aware, and just there will be more self-love. The more self-love there is, the more love there is in the world, right? Because you can't really put love out there until you have loved yourself. And yeah, I think maybe that's the big picture of all of this.
And one of the topics that you really discuss a lot on the Lavendaire YouTube channel is habits. Habits around reading, exercising, and even cleaning daily. How, if at all, do you hold yourself accountable to practice these daily habits, especially on those tougher days?
Well, the first thing I would say, number one, is always be easy on yourself. Always be gentle with yourself. That's my way, because I'm like really compassionate. I'm about the soft, compassionate, gentle way versus the, oh my God, you have to do it, like hustle, work hard. Like, I'm less about that, like go, 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 you must do it even if you hate it mentality. And I'm more for like, sorry, my puppy's like sneezing. Like, I'm more for like being gentle with yourself, because ultimately we got to practice self-love and practice just treating yourself well. So if you don't feel right, don't feel obligated to do all those habits. But you also want to like know yourself enough to know, like make a list of like, these are the habits that when I do them, they give me energy, or they just make me feel better just in any way. So if you're not feeling right, it's helpful to have that list of habits that you can turn to, habits that give you energy. Like for me, it's like, if I do yoga, I definitely feel better. But then there are other habits like maybe like folding clothes or cleaning is a habit. Sometimes, like if I don't want to do it, like I don't want to do it. If I force myself to do it, it feels like an extra burden on my shoulders. So don't do a habit if it feels like a burden on your shoulders. Do it if it gives you energy and if it makes you feel good.
Thank you for that advice. And switching gears now towards Lavendaire. Lavendaire has a vast library of content with a podcast, videos, blog posts, courses, and much more. What is your process behind coming up with creative content for your followers, while also ensuring that it is unique and different from what you have already posted?
I have like a Trello board. It's like this app where I have like a lot of ideas. And I also ask people for suggestions. So once in a while, I just like ask people, okay, comment below with your video suggestions. And I keep them in like this Google Sheets. And those are two resources for me where like I'll just pull from them once in a while. But I would say most of the time, because I'm a very feeler type person, I have to make a video based on what I'm excited about at that moment. And it's not very like efficient the way I do things. It's very based on feel. If I were efficient, I would have like okay, make these 10 videos and I just do them without, whether or not you feel like it. But I really have to like enjoy talking about it.
And speaking of some of your content, you are also present in the podcast space. And currently, many content creators have recently signed deals to partner with companies such as Spotify and Gimlet Media. And as a content creator yourself, what trade-off, if any, do you think exists between the flexibility of being an independent creator or being tied to a larger company?
Well, the trade-off is always creative control. If you have your own thing, if you're independent, you can talk about whatever you want. You can have whoever you want on your podcast. It's just like 100% your own free creative control. But the downside of that is you have to do all the work too. You have to produce it. You have to find the guests on your own. You even have to find the advertising, like the sponsors on your own too. So when you sign with someone like Spotify or whatever, it's not that I'm closed off to it. I'm open to it for like maybe another podcast concept, but I just started mine on my own anyway. But for people who kind of partner with those bigger podcasting companies, their trade-off is they get a lot done for them. Like the producing, editing is all done for them. All they do is show up and record. They might plan a little bit of the creative, they might plan the topics, but they might also have like some sort of guidelines where like, okay, this is like, you should talk about this. And I don't know, I can't speak too much about it because I don't have like that's not what I do, but I know that that's generally the trade-off.
And going towards your blog, self-improvement blogs have often been a space dominated by Caucasian women, most notably Goop by Gwyneth Paltrow. How, if at all, do you think lifestyle blogs created by women of color change the perception of who can engage with lifestyle?
Yeah, this is a trend that I've been seeing grow. I think it's just the times that we're in. There's more and more diversity and more representation as time progresses, because I think that's just the natural flow of things. When I was young, I mentioned all the blogs I was reading were like middle-aged white men. I like Goop, I don't think was a thing, or if anything, it was brand new. And this is before I discovered people like Marie Forleo or whatever. All I knew was Oprah and all these guys, right? So the fact that there are more women in the space, number one, is already great. And then number two, I like, even especially this year, I see so many more minority voices just in every aspect of this space, because personal growth is a big umbrella. So there's a lot of like in spirituality, I see like more Black women, astrology, all these topics that I don't know, I just see more people in the space overall, so that it's more diversified, and the more voices there are, the more I think the more stories and angles are told, which is great.
And speaking of representation, how do you believe new forms of entertainment, such as YouTube and social media, have impacted Asian representation and entertainment at large?
Dude, it's been huge. You guys might be too young, but YouTube started around 06, 07. So I was in high school, and YouTube was the first platform that put Asians on the map. I'm sure for other minority races too, but I grew up not seeing an Asian face on screen except for Lucy Liu and Mulan. I don't know, Brenda Song on Disney Channel. So I grew up like, it was very like you wouldn't see any faces. And then when YouTube came, it was so exciting, because to me it looked like normal people were being shown on screen. Like, this is the time of, you guys might not know, like Wong Fu, AJ Raphael, like Joseph Vincent, all these, I don't know, it was just more and more Asian faces in YouTube, right? And then I think since then it's just kind of grown and diversified. And now, like, what social media does is it democratizes media, meaning we each have a voice and we each have a chance to show up and to post something, to have our voices heard. And not just with YouTube, like now with TikTok, since it's a newer platform, like people who never had a chance to be heard before now have a chance to be heard. And I don't know, I think with social media, it's just there's pros and cons to it, obviously, but in terms of like hearing more diverse voices, it's been everything.
Thank you for sharing that. That is really cool to hear. And going on towards your journey, I think it's fair to say that, as you describe yourself, that your journey from 66 Night Market to being a YouTube creator with over 1 million subscribers, what are some lessons that you apply from your past experiences, even as you do Lavendaire today?
There are so many lessons, and that's why I have a whole channel of like so many videos, right? Like all these habits and lessons that I've built over time. But big lessons are, I mean, number one, believe in yourself, know your vision, decide what you want, and then go after it. Another big mindset or lesson is something shared by Marie Forleo, who's also like a blogger in this space. She says everything is figure outable, meaning you have to have the mindset that no matter what obstacle comes your way, you figure your way out through it, whether it's to do more research, to ask for help, or just anything. You just figure your way through. Most people, they let themselves get stuck, and once they get stuck, they just stop, and that's where it ends. The only way you succeed is if you don't stop. So you just like fight your way through. And then another big one is consistency, because even if you have a big goal and a big dream, if you're not working towards that dream every single day and being consistent about it, it's not going to happen. Like if you only work on it once a month, once every other month, and then skip for 3 months and then start again, like you're not going to get very far. Imagine someone who does something every single day of the year versus you who does it sporadically. And it's hard to be consistent. It's hard for us to choose that many things to like commit to be that consistent in, but that's just the lesson is like decide what it is that you really want and then commit and be consistent with it.
And unfortunately, for the sake of time, this is going to be my last question before we move on to audience questions. In your My Story video, you mentioned that you intentionally chose not to have a 9-to-5 job like your peers, but you pursued what really interested you. And that led you to be able to create Lavendaire. If you were able to, could you offer some advice to students who may want some more unconventional careers in their lifetime?
So advice for them?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I mentioned this before, but the biggest advice is learn to not care about what people are saying or thinking of you. I think just like creating like a boundary where you keep yourself and your goals, like you protect your vision, protect what you want, and learn that what other people say is not a reflection of you, it's a reflection of them. So once you learn to like not care what people think, that honestly frees you to do so much more. It frees you to be your complete self. It frees you to do the things that you were scared before, the things that you thought you'd be judged for. Like imagine if you can live your life unafraid of judgment, you know, just not afraid of embarrassing yourself, not afraid of looking stupid or just being judged. Like that frees you for so much. And I honestly think that's all you need to do an unconventional path, is to just like believe in yourself, do it, and really let go of everything else, all that like baggage of caring.
Thank you so much for answering my questions. We're now going to move on to audience questions. To the audience, if you had not had a chance to look at the form, please submit questions and feel free to include your name and pronunciation. So starting off with the audience question from Anonymous, how did you name Lavendaire, and would you change anything about the way you built your brand?
Well, Lavendaire was a word that I invented. I didn't really intentionally. I didn't want my YouTube to be my name because I did music under my name, Aileen Xu. And I have a kind of unique name where like, if I tell you my name, you wouldn't know how to spell it. And it's just like hard to spell. I don't think it's easy for people to type out. So I just wanted to create an entirely new word that if you were to look it up on Google, you would find nothing else on it, just that thing. And I was playing around with other ideas, but I like Lavendaire because the base word is lavender. I just made it sound a little French or fancy. But lavender is a flower that is very calming and soothing. And it's also a color that I love. And my hair was like purple at that time. So I think all those things combined, just the feeling of the color and the flower and the scent of lavender, and then the fact that it's its own word, and just the fact that when you create your own word, it can become a brand, and the sky's the limit, basically. So those were the factors that went into that decision.
And Fira asks, do you have any tips on handling afternoon slumps? And how do you motivate yourself to stick to your good habits? And she also adds, thank you, Aileen. I'm such a huge fan, and you've inspired me so much.
Thank you. Wait, I forgot the first question. Oh, afternoon slump. Okay. If you have an afternoon slump, I think you have to like switch up your environment and just like switch it up. If you've been sitting down at your computer, go to a different room or even go outside, take a deep breath of fresh air, get present. Because when you take a deep breath, you're like fully in the present moment, and then do something physical. I think moving your body, it doesn't have to be a workout. It could just be like dancing for like 5 minutes or I don't know, just something physical to shake the energy off of like what you were feeling, just to transition yourself. I mean, I'm not like, I don't have the perfect answer for this because I also get this too. And then the second question was how to stay motivated towards your good habits, right? So a tool you can use is a habit tracker where you like tick it off every day. And some people, like it helps some people who like visually like not breaking the chain, like I'm doing this every single day. It doesn't work for everyone though. And then another thing is, like I said earlier, always make sure that you know the reason why you're doing the habits and you're excited to do the habit. Like the habit has to make you feel good and give you energy. It can't be a habit that drains you because it's too hard to stay motivated to something that drains you. So you have to like format your habit in a way that it's exciting and gives you energy. And the last tip is also like block out time in your day for that habit. Don't just put it on your to-do list like, oh, I'll journal sometime today. No, be like, okay, at 10 to 11 a.m., that's my like window to journal, and I'm gonna sit down and do it. So just like put it on your calendar, make it like a commitment.
And Tram asked, I really love acting, but when I tried it, I felt like I wasn't good at it, and it made me feel a little insecure. But the love for it is still there, and I always look up to people in entertainment. I'm not sure what I should do. Do you have any advice on that?
Yes. So number one, acting makes everyone insecure because you're being picked at like all your physical appearance, whether you're acting well or not. It's putting yourself out there, and it's gonna be, I don't know, it's vulnerable is the word. And I think a lot of people enjoy acting, and I would say keep exploring it until you discover more about the pros and cons about it, because there are pros and then there may also be cons for you, and everyone's different. You know, the people who are successful actors, they love it so much that the cons of that path are worth it. It's the sacrifices. With every single career path, there is this. There is what Elizabeth Gilbert calls the shit sandwich. Like every career has it. Every job has, no job is perfect, no path is perfect. So you have to ask yourself, what is the shit sandwich of this path, and am I willing to eat that? Am I willing to deal with that for the benefits? And for me, it wasn't worth it because the cons outweighed the pros. But for you, if you don't know it yet, I would say keep doing it, and the answers will come to you in time. And another thing I want to add is, even though, like, keep doing it, because even though you might not be doing that in the long run, doing that will open new doors for you. You'll gain more experience and more skills. Like acting and doing TV hosting gave me so much on-camera confidence, and just you pick up these skills through the experiences you have. So I like to say that nothing is wasted. Never think that you're wasting your time, because you're gaining something through the experience.
And I think we have time for one more audience question. And this question comes from Anonymous. What advice can you give to young entrepreneurs without a lot of capital, from a young fan of yours?
Thank you. This is everyone struggles with this, right? So you're not alone, number one. Number two, feel lucky that you have the internet. You're born in this era where information and resources have never been easier. Before, imagine back in the time where people had to like look through phone books to like cold call people. Now you can like Google people online, look at LinkedIn and network online. So use the resources and tools that you have in front of you. So much is free. There's a lot of like courses too for like entrepreneurs starting out. Take a course, start from the free courses, see what you learn, and then if you want, you can find some paid courses. I would say, absorb as much knowledge and information as you can. Listen to interviews of other successful entrepreneurs. Listen, not only like the top people, but also like the people who are just slightly a level above you. Like talking and listening to people who are slightly the level above you to where you want to be, that's more practical than listening to an interview by like Gwyneth Paltrow or someone. It's more practical. Things happen step by step. If you listen to some very successful famous person, Bill Gates or Elon Musk, that advice it's not gonna trickle down. It's not gonna be that practical to you. So try to connect, research, either through researching or talking to people, meeting people, connect to people who are where you want to be in the next step, and that is how you're going to bridge that gap.
And that is all the time we have. Thank you so much, Aileen, for answering our questions.
Thank you. They were great questions.
Thank you. And I'd now like to invite our president, Cindy Tang, back up to the stage for some closing remarks.
Awesome. Thank you so much to Christy and to Aileen for an incredible event tonight. So to cap off at all of our events, we like to present our speaker with a custom poster designed by our communications team. And typically we like to present these in person, but given the current environment, we'll be presenting it virtually. So Aileen, here's our poster for tonight's event, and thank you so much again for coming to speak. Once we are able to return to campus, we will be printing this, framing it, and we'll be able to send you a real life copy. But going on, just to talk about some of our upcoming events. So if you enjoyed today's edition of the Berkeley Forum, we have a ton more events coming up this semester. We have an event with Joanna Kahlo and Caroline Williams tomorrow. And we have a panel on UC Berkeley's emergency response protocol, as well as more generally speaking, emergency response next week. And we hope to see you there. So thank you so much again for coming. And if you have time and are willing and able, we'd love to hear any feedback you have so we can continuously improve our events. And please like us on Facebook and visit our website to learn more and to keep up to date on all of our upcoming events as well. Finally, if you're in a position where you're able to support us, any amount will go towards allowing us to put on more free events. But other than that, thank you so much again for coming out to tonight's edition of the Berkeley Forum, and we hope to see you again soon.